I would like to remind you that we have full schedule for till the end of the semester. So heads up, next week we're gonna have we're gonna have Dr. Here 13th, right? No, the 20th, which is Betty Fink. She, an associate professor of food science from Purdue University, will be presenting the seminar next week. Okay, so with that, I would like to welcome our presenter for today, Dr. Anwar Adam. He is a postdoctoral research fellow at our college here in the Cooperative Agriculture Research Center. He is a meteorologist. I have advanced degree in hydrology and integrated watershed management as well. I think just a reminder, Dr. Adam and Dr. Haymanot Baybil, they share the same major professor. They were trained by Stenhouse from Cornell. So I know for sure that he will be performing as good as Baybil did. So he's right now an associate professor at the University of Florida after leaving Prairie View. So Dr. Adam, he is an associate professor. He came from Bahar Dar University, where he at the Water Resources department there. He holds an associate professor here. He has over 14 years of research experience. His work spans over climate variability, impact assessment, evapotranspiration estimation, satellite data processing, watershed monitoring, and hydroclimatological modeling. Okay. I think the keyboard is not cooperating well today. His expertise include, okay, I think maybe it's better. His expertise include hydrology, GIS, remote sensing, and data science. His research was cited by over 1,016 people or times, reflecting a global recognition of his work. His contributions to land and water management practices have saved significant resource and improved, especially in the area of erosion control. He aims to advance innovative hydrology and water management solution to address global challenges. I think with that, I would like to introduce the talk for today. He's going to talk about ecosystem service protection through land and water management in the Ethiopian highlands of Upper Blue Line Basin. With that, Dr. Adam, welcome. And maybe it's better to use. Thank you. Use the keyboard in the meantime. Page up, page down.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's my pleasure to present a research experience or a research on findings, which is based on my university, Bahar Dar University. We did this research as a team, and my research topic is ecosystem service protection through land and water management in the Ethiopian highlands, Upper Blue Nile Basin. Upper Blue Nile Basin, it is locally called Abai Basin. It is part of the Nile Basin. The Nile Basin is sourced from the White Nile and the Lake Tana Basin, or the Lake Tana. And our share is, in Ethiopia, it is the Upper Blue Nile Basin. Locally, it is called as Abai. As Dr. Faris indicated, I'm a postdoctoral researcher here in the college. And this presentation will be in general based on the multiple research findings on the same topic. We have multiple experiments at the watershed and plot scale levels, and I will cover that findings on the base of ecosystem service protection through land and water management. Before that, before coming to my presentation outline, let me introduce myself on the research experience. It is already indicated by Professor Ali Faris. I taught courses like hydrology, hydrometeorology, water resource planning and management, the application of GIS and remote sensing, and also the soil erosion and sediment transport. I have been supervising more than 20 postgraduate students there in Bahir Dar University. Currently, I'm highly interested on topics of hydrological extremes like drought and flood, the climate change and climate modeling, the GIS and remote sensing applications, and the water energy food nexus. So when we come to the presentation outline, first of all, I will introduce you about the land degradation and rehabilitation in the Ethiopian highlands. And I will highlight you something about the research, our area of interest, and then what were the field monitoring activities there, and the research findings we have, and what are the gaps. The main topic, what I will address here is that the effectiveness of the soil and water conservation practices in protecting or restoring the ecosystem services. Under this effectiveness studies, we have some missing gaps and issues. I will have some slides on that, and finally, I will have a conclusion and key recommendations. Then I will present something what I am doing here in PVM. You know, in Ethiopia, we have a challenge for the resource development. We have ample resources, the land and the water resource, but the challenge in its development is the rapid population growth. You know, it is not the case for Ethiopia. It is also for other developing countries, the population pressure. You know, it is, we were 100 million before in 2015. Now it is about 130 million, mean that in 10 years, it is, we increased with 30 million. The other one is the continuing land degradation. Most of or all types of the erosion types, like the sheet, rill, and gully erosion are there. You can see the picture from one of our watersheds, experimental watersheds. You can see clearly that there is a rill erosion. This is a teff cultivation. The other challenge is that continuing water resource depletion. Due to that of the degradation, there is no enough amount of water to be recharged to the groundwater. So due to that, the dry flow or the low flow is decreasing time to time. And the other is the recurrent natural extremes like drought. Since Ethiopia is located in the Horn of Africa, the recurrent drought is also a challenge, and also some flooding issues in hotspot areas. When we come to specifically the land degradation, it is attributed to that of deforestation because of that of the expansion of cultivated land. The loss of soil organic matter and soil erosion, you can see clearly from the picture that there is an expansion of gullies in most of the humid areas, in the bottom slopes of the humid areas. This is one of our experimental watershed as a team. In the highland, the soil loss by water ranges from 3 up to 84 tons per hectare per year, especially in watersheds which have active gullies. The erosion is very high. This land degradation is clearly threatening the agricultural production and also the reservoir capacity and our electric power generation. Why this is happening? It is especially due to that of the agricultural expansion. This agricultural expansion with a continuous tillage resulted the formation of hard pan. Mean that continuous tillage resulted organic matter loss. This organic matter loss time to time is the reason for that of the development of hard pan. This hard pan has its own effect in disrupting the hydrologic processes. You know, hard pan is a dense, compacted soil layer, which is usually found the topsoil or the rooting depths of the soil, which is resistant to water retention and root growth. You can see from our finding that the soil organic matter is lower on the cultivated land than that of the pasture and the forest land. When we come to specifically the Lake Tana Basin, the Lake Tana Basin is the sub-basin for the Upper Blue Nile Basin. I will show you on a map where Lake Tana Basin is located. Since 1989, cultivated land expanded by 20%, and currently the agricultural land coverage is about 68% of the basin. When we compare to that of the highland of the Upper Blue Nile Basin, the Lake Tana Basin has a soil erosion ranged from 5 to 50 tons per hectare per year. You can see from our experimental watershed that there is an expansion of cultivated land from 1973 up to 2013 here. In this basin, there is a nutrient pollution. There is a nutrient load to the lake, like the phosphorus and the nitrogen. And also this is because of the use of agrochemicals and unregulated water extraction. There is a water extraction from the water here and there for irrigation, like pumping the water for irrigation. This allows the expansion of the invasive species, which is known by water hyacinth. You can see that this is the water hyacinth at the flowering stage. Having saying this, on the land degradation, there is also a rehabilitation workers, which is led by the government. It is a mass mobilization. Here you can see that there is local farmers' participation in planning and the implementation, and this is on-site construction or installation of stone bundles and soil bundles. Similarly here, soil bundles, and these are the terraces after they have installed or constructed. Here, we are doing these soil and water conservation practices for the past 3 or 4 decades to mitigate land degradation and restore ecosystem service. This includes the conventional and the technocratic approach. From the conventional methods, you can have that off-contour furrow and recent initiatives like planting trees in erosion-prone areas. From the technocratic approach, as I have indicated here, there is a soil and stone bundles, financial terraces, and so on. The question here is that, what is the effectiveness of government-sponsored soil and water conservation practices? So our university, Bahar Dar University, have many research sites to answer this question. And then in these multiple sites, we have collected many hydrometric measurements like rainfall, runoff, sediment concentration, perched groundwater level, nutrient concentration, water quality, and also we did catchment scale, soil and nutrient observation, and temporal soil degradation assessment, soil surface and groundwater quality, the physical and chemical properties. In the upper, this is the upper Blue Nile Basin. This is the Lake Anna Basin. This is the Lake Anna. The flow of the Blue Nile is started from here, from the Lake Anna. And it passes through the basin, and this is a boundary of Ethiopia, and it's directly go out. It is a transboundary river, and it's go to that of the Sudan, and it joins with the White Nile, and finally it goes through to that of the Egypt. So this is the Blue Nile Basin, and it is humid, and mostly it is humid and subhumid agroclimatic zone, and the topography is highly variable. It ranged, the elevation ranged from 500 to 4,200. You see the difference in elevation, it is 3,700. And the mean annual rainfall is greater than 1,000 millimeters. You know, this area, the Lake Anna area, and the Lake Anna and its buffer area was recorded as a UNESCO biosphere in 2015 due to that of the bird species, the fish species, and also other historical signatures there, churches and so on. We did some field monitoring activities. These pictures are mostly collected from my database. This is when we are downloading rainfall from the data logger. This is the cross-sectional, the cross-sectional where that was used to measure runoff. And this is when we are doing infiltration measurement. These are our physiometers to monitor the shallow groundwater. And here we were doing some vegetation inventory to measure some vegetation parameters. This is when we are sampling soil. This is when we are filtering sediment samples at in situ. And this is our water quality lab to do some nutrient analysis after filtering the soil, after filtering the soil. What are the research findings we have, and what are the gaps in general? First of all, we can see that the runoff responses of the watershed in the Ethiopian highlands, we can have different results. You see this linear lines with different runoff responses with different watershed area. High and low runoff responses for different size watersheds where we have different size watersheds which have different runoff responses. This difference between the watersheds is due to that of the runoff controlling factors. These are the land use, the rainfall, the slope, and the geology. This paper was published by 2020, and it indicates the significance of geology, especially the geological structure, which is fault that enhance the subsurface flow, and it decreases the surface runoff. I will come to the point when I am coming to the gaps when we are doing the soil and water conservation practices. This collective results from different watersheds, different size watersheds, is the erosion in milligram per hectare per meter square per annum. It is published as a team here. You can see that watersheds which have gullies exceeding 50 ton per hectare per year, while watersheds which have not gullies have 20 ton per hectare per year. And you can see that the third group, it consists of watersheds with major faults, which is less than 7.5 ton per hectare per year. When we are not producing much amount of runoff, we cannot have much amount of sediment. As an example, the sediment concentration at the gully outlet of our experimental watershed, Devre Maui, was 10 times higher than that of the inlet, which is 90% from the 90% of the soil is contributed from the gullies. Nutrients from the watershed, it is often overlooked because due to that of the financial problem and some of the laboratory setups, we have not sufficient findings on the nutrient losses from the watershed. But we have seen that nitrogen and phosphorus are flushed from the agricultural lands into the water body, like the Lake Tana. And this is economical loss and contribution for the water pollution for farmers. As I indicated before, water hyacinth is as an example. So we will expect to do some
So the
research.
water hyacinth is an invasive species, right?
Yeah, the invasive species.
Aquatic invasive.
Yeah, aquatic invasive species. So we have inadequate consideration of this nutrient transport within the watersheds, but we have some results on the samples what we have taken from the lake. There is an increase in phosphorus concentration and also increased nitrogen concentration, which is contributed from the agrochemicals.
And that's the water hyacinth, right?
Yeah.
So
This,
some people might not know.
the people is trying to remove this water hyacinth. So the ratio of nitrogen and phosphorus decreased below the Redfield ratio of 6 to 7, and the lake is becoming nitrogen limiting. This issue has its own problem on the fish production and so on. This is published as a team in 2022. The main topic, what is the effectiveness of the soil and water conservation practices in restoring ecosystem services? We have checked different types of soil and water conservation practices effectiveness, and we have found thus most important results. The first one, the FANAJU, it is a structure, a soil and water conservation structure, and grass strips are more effective in humid and subhumid areas, while contour plowing was effective for semi-arid areas. When I say it is semi-arid areas, the mean annual rainfall of the area is less than 6 or 500 millimeter. While when it is subhumid and humid, as I have indicated before, it is greater than 1,000 millimeter of rainfall. Mean that when we have a large amount of rainfall, we have a large amount of runoff and sediment. When we come to the effectiveness of exclosures, exclosures are mostly, they call it enclosures, but we like the name like exclosure, excluding animals and human being from interfering there, and keeping that area for the rehabilitation for a long period of time, 4, 5, 6, or 10 years. So thus, exclosures were effective in richness, in improving the richness, diversity, evenness, and above ground biomass. Also, the physicochemical properties like the soil bulk density was reduced, and the organic carbon increased, the total nitrogen and available phosphorus was enhanced. This was published in 2024 last year.
By the way, in the US, they call it fencing here. So
okay,
you fence the land so that no animal can be introduced.
Yeah. Good. From this result, we have found that different vegetation indices and soil properties responses are there for exclosures which are less than 10 years and greater than 10 years. This is because of the increase in number of small shrubs species for the first 10 years, and thus small shrubs are suppressed after large shrub and after they become large shrub and tree species. This means that due to that of their canopy closure, small shrubs are suppressed and large trees will invade the area. Due to that, the trend is for exclosures less than 10 years and greater than 10 years was different. When we come to the soil and water conservation effectiveness, we can see that the effect of gullies, as I have discussed before, in subhumid areas where the rainfall is high, greater soil loss from the watershed was recorded with gullies, then decreased significantly, you see, decreased significantly faster than that of the watersheds which have not gullies. In this area, in the subhumid area, banks of the gullies become saturated and mostly collapse like this. This is the valley bottom. This is the bottom slope of the watershed, and there is a high amount of water, and it tends to saturate the area, and gullies are collapsing. On the opposite, in the semi-arid area where watershed with gullies have significantly less erosion, gullies have stabilized because the amount of rainfall is less than that of the subhumid areas. So the steep vertical banks indicate that the banks remain unsaturated. So in these semi-arid areas, these conservation measures are very important to infiltrate much amount of water and decrease the annual runoff by increasing the evaporation. From all the experiments what we have studied, most of the experiments at different land use types were effective for at least 5 years. After that, their effectiveness were sharply reduced. This is because of lack of maintenance. Thus, conservation measures should be maintained periodically to get their effectiveness. The Fayana, for example, in Anjani watershed, where Babel and this author were participated, which reduced soil loss for the first 5 years and become effective after establishing the terraces. Mean that they are effective for the first years. After the structure is silt up or filled by sediment and siltation, the effectiveness of these structures in trapping sediment and conserving water will be reduced. What were our missing gaps and effectiveness for the soil and issues for for the soil and water conservation not effective? The first one is prioritizing or prioritization of the investment. Like from our finding, it is better to prioritize watersheds which are generating high amount of runoff. So the government-led soil and water conservation mobilization is applying uniformly throughout the region. This has its own problem in wasting much amount of labor and also money. So it is better to prioritize for watersheds which are generating excess runoff. You can see that some of the watersheds like here, are producing small amount of runoff, like from the group 1 and from the group 2. You can see that there is a difference, but there are also other watersheds which are not producing much amount of runoff. Even if whether they are located in the subhumid area. So it is better to prioritize watersheds which are producing much amount of runoff. The other one, we need to understand the runoff generation mechanism. The runoff generation mechanism for the down and mid slope is saturation excess. From our experiments of infiltration, the median infiltration rates were exceeded by the rainfall intensity just less than that of 10% of the time. So waterlogging is common on the valley bottom that initiates gullies and that causes the expansion of gullies. So prioritizing for gullies, especially not only putting some gabions or check dams there, it is better to also drain some excess water from that bottom slope to the downstream areas. The other gap is understanding about the hard pan. You know, organic matter is decreasing, aggregates are breakdown, and this aggregate breakdown resulting finer soil without structure. This finer soil without structure are susceptible for erosion. So this leads hard pan formation, and the uppermost part of the soil will be weak, and this hard pan formation will fast the interflow, wetter valley bottoms, and more gullies will be initiated downstream and greatly increase sediment concentration in rivers. You know that these hard pans are decreasing the dry flow or the base flow and shallow groundwater because the interflow is high. Since we have no, since there is no infiltration, or there is minimum infiltration. So to test or to check the effect of this hard pan, we did some plot experiments by using conventional tillage. We checked some tillage practices like conventional tillage, no tillage, conventional tillage plus intercropping of PGMP, and Barkan plow. That tilts deeper than the conventional tillage. These are the 4 plots what we have experimented. And this is a Barkan plow, and this is a conventional tillage. And we had some modifications on the conventional tillage in terms of its size, and also we have added some additional tools. This tillage practice penetrates the hard pan. You can see that the one our local farmer is plowing using that of the conventional tillage. So we have changed this part with this and checked at a plot scale, and we have found that the effect of maize grain yield and rooting depth was improved. This is the rooting depth, and this is the grain yield. And we know that we have found a net increase benefit from the negative to $138 per hectare. This is our publication in 2022. The other gap is that not adopting farmers-led practices. Farmers are doing something there based on their physical experience. So in this watershed, it is a Robit Bata watershed. It is near to Bahar Dar and also the lake. Plantation or eucalyptus plantation is expanding from 2001 to 2014 from 6% to 22%. You can see from the Google Earth image the coverage of these plantations. They have many reasons, but one of their reasons to plant this eucalyptus on their plots of land is that due to that of the saturation and the less production of that area. Sometimes they have their own reason in terms of economical benefit, but one of their reason is using that area for plantation rather than using that area for cultivation. So from our finding, you can see that this eucalyptus plantation decrease the low flow the low flow and increase evaporation. This is evaporation, but it helps to reduce the runoff and sediment. Through it has a negative effect, even though it has a negative effect on the water availability. So based on the experience of the farmers, it is better to adopt the local knowledge there. I'm coming to that of the conclusion, my conclusion. The soil and water conservation practices initially reduce soil erosion and improve water retention. Their effectiveness diminishes over time, as you have seen. And in the subhumid and humid area, on the opposite of the semi-arid areas, conserving extra water through soil and water conservation practice can increase water pressure in the valley bottoms. So which should be managed to prevent gully erosion. Plantation, like eucalyptus plantation, is decreasing water availability, but achieving draining water from the landscape and decreasing soil loss. These are the key recommendations what we have provided for the local farmers and extension agents. The first one is need for more durable conservation strategies like maintaining the soil and water conservation to have a continuous benefits from the structures. The other one, context appropriate soil and water conservation practices are very important because it needs some careful attention to drainage in addition to sediment trapping. Sediment trapping as well as draining additional water from that area or watershed. Changing tillage practices can conserve soil and nutrients to improve rainfed crop productivity. More integrated approaches such as including agroforestry, agronomic practices like tillage, targeted conservation efforts like gullies are very important. Restorative measures must be tailored to specific locations and climate rather than applied uniformly. We can apply these conservation measures for different agroecological zones like the semi-arid, humid, and subhumid. This is all from the topic what I am prepared. Now I'm going to show you or highlight the ongoing research at CARC. I stay here for the last 2 months as a postdoctoral researcher. Now I am doing on this research topic, which is a long-term trend in precipitation and stream flow in the Navasota River Basin. It is implications for flood risk and management strategies. As a background, you know, the US has significant threats like significant threats from extreme weather events like hurricanes, droughts, wildfire, and floods. And also Texas in particular is vulnerable to due to that of its unique geographical feature and variable precipitation patterns which are leading to severe flooding. In addition, there are also human-made modifications like construction of dams that creates reservoir and can have unintended consequence on surrounding watersheds. So the Navasota River, it is a tributary of the main Brazos River, experiencing natural and anthropogenic changes. The local people is attributing this change, especially the flooding issue, with that of the Lake Limestone Dam. And also other drivers are also exist, like high rainfall intensity, especially trends of increasing precipitation over time. So the main objective of this research is to analyze the potential role of the Lake Limestone and its management in flooding for the Navasota River Basin. So these are the specific objectives. We are evaluating the the precipitation and stream flow trend. And also we are conducting change point analysis to understand whether this rainfall and stream flow trends has a link with that of the construction of or the existence of the limestone reservoir. In this study, we are using gridded and ground observed data, and we are doing some statistical analysis, Mankendal and PT test, Mankendal for trend test, and petit test for change point detection. These are some of our preliminary results. You can see that precipitation is significantly increasing. There is a correlation between the stream flow and the precipitation. And also there is also an increasing trend of stream flow for the last 70 or something years, 70 or more than years. The second thing, what I hope we will submit this research output for one of the journals, and you will find sufficient information on that. The second one is a long-term trend. The second one is impact of climate change on irrigation water requirement in olive producing countries. We have selected about 10 olive producing countries to calculate the irrigation water requirement for the historical period as well as for the projected period. I'm working this thing with one undergraduate student. Currently, we are downloading the global climate model, which is downscaled, CMIP6 from NASA website. And in the future or in the coming weeks, we will work on the location-specific climate projections and calculate the irrigation water requirement using the IMANSYS model. IMANSYS model is a water balance model which was developed by Dr. Ali Faris. I have also another research review. I'm also doing some review article on the interpolation, on the comparison of interpolation techniques on different areas. These are other ongoing research tasks, like supervising students working on the water and nexus, water energy food nexus. And I'm also contributing a lot for experimental projects like the AI in agriculture and climate smart agriculture. I'm also doing some monitoring activities on our water resource and security lab. This is all about my presentation. This is the Professor Tamu Steenhuis from Cornell University. This picture was taken when we are visiting my experimental watershed in Ethiopia. He is an adjunct professor for Bahir Dar University. He is frequently coming to visit the experimental things there. This photo was taken during our weekly meeting. We have a weekly research progress meeting at a team level here, as a team level here in the CARC. This is all about. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Adam. We have plenty of time for questions and comments about this great presentation that Dr. Adam gave. So I'm sure we're going to entertain some questions here.
Yes. Students go first. I mean, all of us are students, but younger students than me. So
Yeah, we only have students here.
yes. So,
It depends. Can you please?
Thank you, Dr. Adam. Surprisingly, you are showing my birthplace. That picture is taken from my birthplace. Yeah, I'm happy to see that. My question is on the balance, how you balance in one of your results, you have shown that eucalyptus decrease availability of water. And on the other hand, you are looking it maintains the soil or reduce the loss of soil. So what is your suggestion for the farmers? Because they need water for irrigation, at the same time, they have to keep also the soil. So what is your suggestion, how you balance these two?
Thank you. We have a good initiative there. Rather than using the eucalyptus plantation, we are trying to test other indigenous plants which are not taking much amount of water from the ground. Yeah.
And also a plant that can be used, I mean, more if it gives like some production, then you will use it to get income for the farms
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
eucalyptus is only
Yeah.
used for, I mean, as a
For construction, like.
yeah. So maybe that's an area for improvement. Yes,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Okay. I'm very much happy to be here and attend your presentation. I really like it. But I have also some suggestion about Dr. Adis's question. Eucalyptus, but I know eucalyptus roots can go about 25 or to that level, that much mature, and really seek soils from that diameter. And for sure, it makes deficits that area. But still, we can look for a better places where we can plant it, and that's called production ecology, because eucalyptus is an important resource for the farmers. Everything for the farmers is usually from the eucalyptus. They construct the house from it. They use it as a fuel wood. So I don't think we can separate the farmer from eucalyptus.
Yeah.
So the good thing probably is to look for the options.
Yeah.
We can plant it somewhere where the
area is
probably away from agricultural fields. But another question I have is, how would you think about the exclusion applications? Fencing here. So do you think that is a successful means of restoring the area? Because on the other hand, we are saying population is increasing, and probably in some 15 years, we may not have even a space to exclude from any increase.
Yeah.
How would you make that?
Yeah, you are correct.
Balance.
You are correct.
Thank you.
You are correct. The first thing is that it is a suggestion and it is very important. And the second one, we are doing this exclosures only on the hillside areas. Hillside means when it is a rugged topography and when it is not favorable for the agricultural production, we are making exclosures on that area because it is highly degraded. It is not further used for cultivation. So restricting or fencing that area from any interference will help to rehabilitate by its own with a long period of time. That is the case. That is the case. It is area specific. Yeah.
Good. I think one thing before I give you Dr. Memoli, yes, about the eucalyptus tree. Have you tried? I mean, if you didn't try the honey of eucalyptus tree, you have to try it. It's a very, very flavored honey, right? Medicinal. Okay, there you go. So,
And some traditions around the world consider eucalyptus as a good luck. You put it around there and you have some good luck coming around. But other questions or comments? Yeah, there's Dr.
Oh.
Tefera. Go ahead. After that,
people are familiar with Ethiopia asking questions.
Yeah. Because it is their issue.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Anwar, for your great presentation. On one of your slides, you showed us about effectiveness of different soil water conservation techniques. So I think there were watersheds on which there are control and watershed with different soil water conservation techniques. So the thing is how homogeneous watersheds were, biophysically homogeneous, to say which were under soil bend, under Fanaju, or under grass strip, so that we can say it is exclusively due to the management that soil water management techniques, there is an increase or a decrease on soil loss.
Yeah, it is a very important concept. There are two techniques for investigating the effectiveness of the soil and water conservation practices at a watershed scale. The first one is the historical. Starting the watershed monitoring before the implementation of the soil and water conservation, and then applying that soil and water conservation and continue watershed monitoring, like recording the rainfall, the runoff, the sediment, and so on, and for a long period of time. And this one is the very important thing that we can see isolatively the effectiveness of the soil and water conservation. The other one is most researchers are comparing the effectiveness of the soil and water conservation on a control and experimental watersheds. The control one is there is no any soil and water conservation implementation, and then from the experimental one they were applying some types of soil and water conservation. You really raised a good and important issue that the runoff controlling factor is not only the soil and water conservation. The runoff or the sediment can be controlled by the slope, the soil, the slope, the land use, the geology, and so on. But most of the researchers were trying to compare and have a comparable watersheds, but we cannot isolate the effect of other runoff controlling factors. The other one is at a plot scale. It is really good when we are doing the comparison at a plot scale, because we can control the slope, we can control all the things, we can make variability on that of the soil and water conservation works. I know that is a problem, but we addressed from this presentation and from our review paper, we addressed all these things. And we have also mentioned the drawback of comparing watersheds which have soil and water conservation and which have not, because it can be controlled with other factors.
Yeah, this is a very, what you call it, a very needed topic or that has been facing hydrologists, which is watershed comparison, especially when you try to implement management practices. There is no ideal situation. Some people do historically, the historic watershed before they did conservation practices and after the conservation practices, but doing so, the weather is different from previous period to the second period. If you're comparing to adjacent watersheds, that's not also ideal. So there are plenty of it's well discussed and it's a very sometimes contentious topic in hydrology. But I think one thing that I would like to make a comment about, what you showed about the sizes of the watersheds and the erosion, and how the country should maybe prioritize the watershed that have higher erosion than the ones that have lower erosion, because you will make more impact, right, by reducing erosion. I think the same thing can be said within the same watershed. Our research that we did in Hawaii shows, and this is the importance of geospatial analysis, that about 60% of the watershed erosion is coming from 20% of the watershed. So you don't have to address entire watershed. If you address those 20% of the watershed, you can make a huge impact on the erosion. So, and because these management practices, conservation practices are costly, so there is always funding issue. So that's why a geospatial analysis is very important, determining what are your hotspots.
Yeah, hotspots.
So then you can go and you make, with a little effort, with the same amount of money, if you can address those hotspots, you can substantially reduce the erosion on the watershed. So the same thing can be said, and I completely agree with you on that essence. So any other question, comments? Oh, here is, okay. You can read it.
Okay, so let me, two questions for you, Dr. Adam, and then one comment for all the audience and the remote and as well as here. So first, I'm curious if you comment on improving the soil quality, soil chemistry by using some of those biomass as compost, by using a lot of manures. Ethiopia has a lot of goat agriculture I'm familiar with. And so why would they not be used? Second, why not plant, second question, why not plant lots of fruit trees that would prevent erosion and all those things? So comment is, colleagues, all of you, including Prof. Fair's group and everybody here, I really encourage you to think about our needs, that we have the 800-acre farm that has a lot of needs relevant to this topic, including soil improvement, including geospatial analysis and the landscaping, so that we are not going to have flooding and this and that. So we do have urgent needs, although we are working to develop a job description for a pasture, sort of a specialist who would help us increase the soil quality to increase the hay quality. But there are a lot of projects. Before Navasato River, I understand that's Texas-centric. Why not improve our farms, which is a hub for research, teaching, and extension? So two questions. One is about enriching the soil in Ethiopia. And second is the planting fruit trees across there that would help as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Memoli. Those are good suggestions. I like the fruit tree one.
Yeah, yeah.
We have a fruit tree task, by the way. We're gonna, some of you have helped. We're gonna have hundreds of fruit trees. Once we have the fruit tree expert researcher with some extension appointment, I plan to have, the vision is to have hundreds of fruit trees around, different kinds, and our students would help not only monitoring, not only fertilizing, but also pruning and all that in collaboration with extension. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Really, we have, you know, the agricultural land is expanding, and also we have a livestock population. From the livestock population, we have, we can get manure, and we can apply for that cultivated land. But due to that of the large areas of cultivation, most of the farmers are using this for their backyard, mostly.
Family farming.
Yeah, family farming. Yeah.
Fruit
Fruit trees, there are new initiations now. Before 5 or 10 years, we are planting only some plants which are important for increasing the soil fertility, like PGMP, Saspania, and so on.
I did my master's research on PGMP.
But now even PGMP has its own significance for that of the livestock.
Yeah, of course,
for
yes.
the livestock, yeah. But now the people is aware of using such fruit trees, but for such fruit trees to get some incentives after many years. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you answer those two questions, please?
Some of the gullies you showed are very large.
What is the status of and effectiveness of construction of erosion barriers like dams in those regions? That's one
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. We are doing only reshaping the embankments of the gullies, because we cannot stop those huge gullies. The first thing what we are doing is that you know that the gullies have their own eye, which are moving from the downstream to the upstream. So first of all, we should do some riprap using the stones and so on.
Yes.
Terracing. We should off this gully eyes. That is the first thing, to not to expand to the upstream.
Okay.
The other thing is that we are doing some reshaping. Like if the embankment is vertical, we are making it like in a 45-degree shape, and then we are going to plant some grasses for its stability.
Second question, can eucalyptus, because of its deep roots, help recycle groundwater? We have a problem of.
Yeah. Yeah, because we don't know after we lost our water in the form of evaporation, because
Yes.
the system in the atmosphere is different. It can move our water vapor to other place. So it
Export to someone else.
export to someone. Yeah.
All right, let's give our speaker, oh, we have another, okay. We have another, what do you call it, a question from downside the border.
Yeah, thank you, Adam, for a very informative presentation. And as Dr. Faris mentioned, from downside border, where I originally come from,
Yeah.
I would like to thank you so much for your effort on keeping those sedimentation. It's a very, very big problem downstream for us. Really, yeah, for agriculture and many
Oh, yeah.
things, yeah.
But that's rich soil as well, that's money.
Yeah, but at the end, we have also rich soils and keep it, please, as much as you can. And also
But
it's solve another.
you should incentivize us. You should.
Yeah, in fact,
for our
in
effort,
fact,
yeah.
in fact, we work on that in something in a frame called Nile Basin Capacity Building Network with under UNESCO. And there are many works that's been doing that in the joint research between all of the Nile Basin people,
Okay, we're.
particularly on that.
Okay.
My question is, if Dr. Faris allow me, you have mentioned a very important particular for measurement, because we know rainfall is also very variable in distribution. That you can, if this year rainfall is here, that on a piece of soil or on a piece of watershed, that not produce too much sediments, other year is gonna be here. So it's very variable. So if you use measurements like rainfall, surface runoff ratios, that will give you a very good indication, because surface runoff is a very driving force for erosion and transport the sedimentation. Also, you look to the other regional countries, they have many traditional ways that they control this very good. Such like Yemen, for example, they have the same morphology. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Al Hassan. Yes, final comments, please.
Yeah, let me speak on the rainfall variability. You know, when we say the annual rainfall of this area or this watershed ranged from 1,000 to 1,500, means that the annual rainfall variability is on that range. And also the variability is not only on the amount, it is also, there is also spatial variability. But in most cases, the rainfall what we have received on the wet season of Ethiopia for that specific watershed is more or less similar to that of the previous or the next year precipitation. Because the Blue Nile or the upper Blue Nile basin is not much drought-prone area. The drought-prone areas are out of this basin, like the Awash Basin or other basins of the area. So there is a variability, I know. That variability makes a significant change on the runoff response, but it is not that much in our humid and subhumid area. That is my understanding.
Let's thank our speaker. Thank you, and I think we learned our lessons. We don't have a seminar on spring break.